Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. We're going to take a quick look at KuCoin and obviously peek over Bitcoin first because it's important you understand kind of what's going on here. First of all, Bitcoin is still on the struggle bus, right? We cannot see any higher highs and higher lows in the one-day chart yet. We're still seeing lower highs, lower lows. It cannot break that trend. We need the price to close somewhere in the range of about 50,000 or higher to have some type of vote of confidence here, right? That would put us at a higher high on the one-day candlestick, and that's ultimately what we're looking for. Bear this in mind too, the 50-day set moving average rather is working its way down, and the 200 is working as a strong support. So all in all, that's a good sign. 200 is notorious for holding the price action higher and keeping the price where it should be. So in other words, right now, based on the last 200 days of trading, that's essentially telling us that Bitcoin is right where it should be and is regarding the price. We're just barely above, and therefore it's working as a support. Also note too, if we look at the 1 hour chart, we're making higher highs still, and we did just make a higher low, or at least, currently we're still making a higher low. So we're not, in dire straits by any means. I recognize the price is digressing, but, truth be told, this is higher than this, and this is higher than this, right? Therefore, we can't rule it out in the sense that it's still making higher highs and higher lows. What we want to see happen next is for the price to likely bounce off of 47,800 and to progress upwards closer to about 50,000. That would be ultimately what we're looking for to get this type of behavior again, moving forward, right? So ultimately that's what we're looking for. So again, all in all, Bitcoin's not in terrible shape. It would be nicer if it was a little bit higher in price, but it's kind of standard right now, kind of putting pause on everything for the moment. When we saw a nice little surge yesterday with that vote of confidence with the news being kind of in the past, and we're seeing a green candlestick that got a lot of money back into the market. Right now, the whales are taking their profit as they do every single time. So just be aware that there's also a few other factors you could understand as well too. Year end is coming up. A lot of times they'll take their profits before year end for tax purposes. That could factor in the next couple of weeks. And then, ultimately, just simply put, there's a lot of crazy stuff in the world still right now that's causing the market to kind of be uneasy and uncertain. So I'm not going to be surprised if we don't see the price ramp back up anytime soon. I would speculate we should have probably at least another week's worth of consolidation. All right. That factors into KuCoin, of course, here. And just one thing to note, well, this will actually help us understand what side of the fence we're on, if we can break free from Bitcoin or not, is if KuCoin can stay above the 50-day set moving average. That'd be really nice. But for right now, we do have this descending triangle pattern. And I just want to kind of bring this to your attention here. Descending triangles, they typically continue bearish, right? In other words, you start from the bearish side, the price is coming down, works itself into a wedge, and then breaks to the downside. That's a really common characteristic in scenarios like this. Bear in mind also, no pun intended, that KuCoin is overextended in the first place, right? It's still very high. So the likelihood of it coming down is still there. I would say it's more like 50-50 in this case, just based on the simple fact that, Bitcoin, just decides it wants to increase or recover, then KuCoin will do the same thing as well. But you bet your bippy if Bitcoin drops down to 42,000, KuCoin's going to lose that bottom too. Okay, so we just got to be mindful of that. Not saying it's going to happen, but the likelihood of it continuing lower is there, just based on that type of continuation. All right, let's take a look at the moving averages here. We can see that the price is basically below the 50 and the 200. So the 200 is working its way as a resistance level, and so is the 50. And so ultimately, we're going to hopefully see the price break above, but for right now, it is still kind of going down, which is essentially exactly what Bitcoin is doing too. We can also see that we're testing 50 on the RSI. If we lose that, we could be considered to be bearish even still. As you can tell, the last, how many days is that? That's roughly 10 days. We've seen RSI barely up over 50 only once or twice. Okay. So that's not great. We need the RSI to be up over 50 and closer to 70 to have that nice bullish continuation. So we don't have that sign either, which isn't fantastic. Now looking at Ichimoku Cloud, we can see here, of course, that the conversion line is above the baseline. Yes, that's great, but the lagging span is intersecting with the price action right here, or soon to, right? So the likelihood of this being a closed position is very high. In other words, if you have an open long position, you'd want to close it now before it's too late. That's what the cloud is telling us, okay? But bear in mind, we are still above the cloud here, which does notoriously work as a support level. So the likelihood of the price kind of, recovering here soon could also happen. I think it's more likely the price will, progress sideways or up from here versus going down. But again, the cloud is basically telling us we want to close our position, just based on the simple fact that the lagging span is intersecting soon with the price action. Okay. Furthermore, as well with the TD sequential, we can see we're about 6 hours into a continuation here. In other words, it came up to an 8, got stopped out essentially by that descending pattern, essentially, more so because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin got stopped out right at the exact same time. But generally speaking, we're 6 hours in to a potential of a 9-hour continuation. So the likelihood of this turning around is, I would say, fairly high. We could see it bounce off the support level here and essentially continue back up. I think that's more likely than not we're going to see that happen. But for right now, that is essentially what we're looking at there, because TD Sequential is telling us we've got about, what, 3 to 7 hours worth of continuation of the downside. It shouldn't go much lower, and ultimately what we want is for it to not go lower, obviously, right? I already kind of highlighted this on Bitcoin, but we got the higher highs here, right? So it's still making higher highs. This should effectively be the bottom as long as this low can be, somewhere in the range that it's at right now. If it doesn't go much lower, then it'd be higher highs and higher lows in the 1 hour chart. And then we continue that, then the next high should break this resistance here at about 58 cents. And then we'll see the next low somewhere in the range of 55. Okay. So ultimately, that's what we're looking for. Will that happen? It's hard to say, really. This is all contingent on Bitcoin for the most part, because unfortunately, KuCoin is still synonymous with Bitcoin. So things to pay attention to is for KuCoin to start moving independent of Bitcoin. Some coins are doing that right now, not a lot, honestly, but some are. Most of the coins that are overextended are not really moving free. They're breaking free, right? Like Luna, for example, that one is actually doing very well, but it's had a very healthy continuation the entire time. Coins like KuCoin, Galas, and a lot of these gaming and or metaverse coins, they have a tendency of being really, really synonymous with Bitcoin right now because they're extremely overextended. They jumped up way too fast, way too quick. So we just got to be mindful of that and try not to get stubborn and say like, oh, Crow's different. It's going to break free. It's all good. It's not for a while, honestly. We're not going to see that for some time until we get either a blow off top from Bitcoin or Ethereum taking off on its own accord. Once Ethereum takes off and is adopting a lot of that market capitalization from Bitcoin, which does kind of look like it's happening right now, ultimately, then we're going to see coins like this start to become more independent of Bitcoin once more. But again, KuCoin is very overextended, right? We gotta acknowledge that. It flew very close to the sun, and it's doing that normal retracement pattern, and it takes a lot longer for coins like this to recover, especially when Bitcoin's doing poorly. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll try to continue to reiterate that in my future videos, of course, so you can kind of learn what I mean by that. But very, very short term, the micro, we're looking at, we're still healthy in the sense that we're seeing higher highs, but the higher lows are a little concerning for the moment. We'll get there though, right? We'll take another look at this here again tomorrow. I guess my friendly advice, at least for my community members and or anyone else that wants to bother to listen, you've heard this before, just dollar cost average. Add to your position as you see fit. This is not a bad average price between 52 and 60 cents. KuCoin is very likely to hit $1 plus in the near future. So honestly, you could probably 2x your investment regardless, based on the simple fact that KuCoin has tremendous potential. I mean, we hit almost 95 cents we did hit 95 cents in a very short amount of time. But the reason why we're seeing this right now and we're struggle busting is because of the fact that we did that so quickly, okay? So be patient, you'll get there. Dollar cost average, still a good value. Just try not to put all your eggs in one basket. I'm sure you'll hear me say that multiple times, but a good trader will diversify and make sure you're doing so. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.